Now, what I want to do now is to share a little bit on another insight into interpreting dreams. And this time we're going to be looking at when you have a dream where you've returned to some past relationship. It may be a relationship with an old boyfriend or a girlfriend, or maybe a boss that you've had from many years ago. And what do those dreams mean? And it could be like returning to an old school, for example. I've had that sort of thing, and certainly the old workplace. Sometimes it's not too far back. I think maybe probably at least 10 years ago, the ones that I go back to, that same workplace. So what do those dreams mean? Returning to a past relationship, or in a past workplace even as well. So this I'm reading here from Top 20 Dreams by John Paul Jackson. He just says it so well. So I will just read it out as it is, maybe just adding a little bit here and there as something comes to mind. Returning to a past relationship can involve a former boyfriend or girlfriend, a previous employer, or even an old friend. In each of these cases, remember that dreams are symbolic. So that it doesn't mean that you're going to reconnect with that person. It's symbolizing something. You may have had your heart broken by this person, but seeing the person in a dream rarely means you're about to resume that relationship with him or her. So I'd say nearly always it doesn't mean that. The most common example of a past relationship is an old love. In a dream, the person's presence may come as a shock, or it could feel as though the two of you were never apart. Either way, the dream is likely speaking about a symbolic old love. And that is a pattern of thinking or a habit that is trying to return. So what are these dreams about? They're about a pattern of thinking or a habit that is trying to return. So the context something that can help you with that is how this old love or friend fits into the dream storyline. And that'll help you identify the dream's purpose. How did you react in the dream to this old love? Were you tempted by the person's advances? Were you open, meaning you're open to those old habits and patterns of behavior? Or did you run for cover, which means that you're less open to those things? Your response to the person will often tell how close you are to falling into those old habits and ways of thinking. Like if you're drawn into that love again, that means that you're going back to those things, back to those old habits, those old ways of thinking. If the past relationship involved a former boss or mentor, the dream could refer to a pattern in business you're about to re-enter for good or bad. So in this case, it's speaking of more what some people call a prophetic dream or a foretelling dream. So God's telling you something that's coming up. So notice there can be quite some variation here on these types of dreams. So that first example was a case where God's revealing something that's going on in your heart. Whereas in this other case here, like for example, with the old boss, it's something you're about to re-enter, good or bad. And I guess the context of the dream will help you to determine that and help you to prepare for it. That's one of the reasons why God speaks to us about things that are happening in the future. When an old friend returns in a dream, particularly a person who is estranged from you, you may want to look at the lifestyle decisions you made during your relationship and determine if those patterns are surfacing again. So an old pattern, when an old friend returning, particularly someone who's estranged from you, you look at, what sort of things did you do that caused that estrangement, and avoid, I guess, doing them again so you don't have that same problem. If the past relationship was your first love, the dream might be about Jesus. Revelation 2:4, where God's saying, Jesus said, you've returned to your first love. And it's about Jesus inviting you into a deeper relationship with him. So how do you respond to these dreams? It can be challenging to resist old habits and comfortable patterns of thinking. However, The Bible says God is transforming us from glory to glory as we become more like him. That's in 2 Corinthians 3:18. To experience this transformation, we have to keep looking forward with our eyes focused on God, not looking back, going back to those old patterns, going back to those old behaviors. Depending on the dream's context, ask God which old love has returned to pull your affection away from him. God's a jealous God. He wants all our affection, all our heart. And so if there's something that's returning to pulling us back, and even as I'm saying this, I'm just sensing like alcohol addiction, somebody struggling with that. If that's you, just pray to God to give you strength to resist that temptation, any kind of addiction, addictive behavior as well. Might not necessarily with substance abuse, it might be some other kind of addictive behavior, something that you've struggled to resist. Invite Jesus to fill those needs in your life. So often those things that are drawing us back, it's because of an unfulfilled need. And we need to, instead of looking to people to meet that need, we look to Jesus and ask him to give us the power through his grace to resist falling back into old ways of thinking. Sometimes if it's something where we just don't feel like we don't have the power to resist it, and this, what I was talking about with these addictive behaviors as well, there's often a deliverance that's required for that. So if that's you, I'd encourage you to seek out somewhere where you can actually find that deliverance and find freedom in that process. So just a little tip there on dream interpretation.